Okay, so hello everyone. I hope you are doing well. So as you may know, this is the second day, the second lesson of the free 25-hour TEFL course organized by Global Bus Foundation, Morocco. And again, we are very glad to share with you the second lesson. Just 1 second. All right. Great. So let me share with you today's session. Okay, just 1 second. All right. Great. So can you see my screen? Yes, you can write in the chat box if you see the screen or thumbs up. So let me see. Yes, thank you. All right. So this is the 25 free TEFL course from September 11th to September 28th. And today's lesson is very interesting, which is about grammar, okay? But here the most important thing about teaching grammar is how to teach grammar interactively, how to teach grammar communicatively. So I'm not going to focus on the structure or the form, but the most important thing here is how to motivate your learners to practice the language, to do conversations, role plays, dialogues, using the forms. So the most important is not to focus on the form, but the most important here is to communicate and to practice the language. And here, as you may know, some teachers depend heavily on teaching only the structure, the form. But at the end, students remember only the structure, but they cannot communicate. So today's session will be about how to help novice teachers or beginner teachers or even experienced teachers to create a very engaging classroom where you can teach grammar effectively. Okay, so here, these are the aims. We have introduction, approaches, strategies, techniques, classroom applications, review, and conclusion. We are going to start with an introduction about grammar. Then we are going to see two major approaches of teaching grammar or to teaching grammar, two major approaches. And then what are the strategies that you are going to use to help your learners observe the form, observe the structure, and then the techniques that will help you to achieve your goals. And of course, we are going to practice, to have some practice. We are going to put what we have learned into actions. Then we are going to have a review about what we have learned. And at the end, there is a conclusion. All right, great. So let's move on. Just 1 second. I'm going to accept more people here on Zoom. All right, great. Now, so here, let's get started. Now, number one, imagine you are trying to learn a new skill, fishing skill, soccer skill, painting skill, dancing skill, cheating skill, drawing skill. So number one, do you prefer to be told how to do it? Do you prefer someone to tell you how to do it? Or number two, to be shown how to do it? They just show you. They just guide you. They just help you. They just prompt you. They just push you. And then you can learn by yourself. Or to read how to do it by yourself. I want to know how to use the computer. I can read about how to use the computer, for example. Or to try using it and find out for yourself. You experience. You do it by yourself until you know how to do it. Or a combination of all these. Okay. Now, I'm going to give you 1 minute. So tell me, is it 1, 2, 3, 4, or a combination? So let me see here. What do you think? I give you 1 minute. Yes, please think about it. All right, so let me see what some have written. Fatima said the fifth one. Bubakar said a combination, wonderful Ikram, a combination of all these. Rahim, I believe by having a combination, so can all of these, wonderful Musa, to try using it and find out by yourself. Good. Bizri Muhammad, number 5. All right, that's interesting. Good, so let's see the audience on following us on YouTube or via YouTube. Yeah. So let's see. Okay. Great. So for those, I prefer to be shown how to do it. As far I prefer to be shown. Okay, Imad Abdu Rajini, learn is a practice before anything else. Great, thank you. I can say it's a combination or all of them. So it depends on the situation. It depends on the type of the lesson. It depends on the difficulty of the lesson. It depends on the size of the class. So there are many conditions that you can take into account if you want to learn something or you want to teach something. So Linda says she cannot hear me. Can you please hear? Do you hear me? All right. Thank you. So do you hear me? Yes, please. All right, thank you. Now, question number 2. Yeah, for question number 1, we can say it's a combination or all of these, okay. Number 2, would you learn the grammar language following the same principles? Now, if you want to learn grammar, would you like someone to tell you about the rule, or would you like someone to show you how to discover the rule, or would you like to read first, then you can find the rule, or would you like to try by yourself, or a combination of all these? So what do you think? I give you again 1 minute and you tell me if you are learning grammar. Yeah, is the voice clear? Hussein said something wrong with your voice. Yeah, can you hear me, please? All right. So yes, Wahida said yes. Shema said yes. Oh, thank you. Great. So what do you think? I can give the floor to anyone here if you want to talk. So how would you learn? Would you like to learn grammar? So Sarah Dlimi said to be shown how to do it. All right. Interesting. So here we are going to see how you can teach your learners, how you teach them grammar. And we are going to see 2 major approaches. And Musa here said it's quite better to let the student discover himself. Wonderful, Shayma. Conclude the rule by my own. Wonderful. Sukaina, learning grammar is a process that involves a variety of techniques depending on the situation. Great. Nisreen said, try using it and find it yourself. Siham, I prefer to read the text one and to discover the rule by myself. Great. Abdul Ali Tahiri, for grammar, I prefer to discover it myself. If the teacher gives me the rules, I will give them much importance and neglect the content. Abdul bin Dawood, to be shown how to do it. All right, thank you. So we have right, yes, several answers. So let's see here. Now, there is a situation. All right. So I want you to read this situation and you answer the three questions. Number one, or the two questions. How could you help Layla? Layla is a teacher. She has got a problem when she was teaching grammar. And number two, what do you think was wrong with her lesson? Then you can jot down some ideas. So number one, I want any volunteer, someone to read from those who are on Zoom. Anyone? Can you read the situation? Okay. So let's see. So Safar or Sifar, yes, please use the mic. Sifar, can you activate your mic? Sifar or Wahida, yes, please. Wahida, activate your mic.
Yes. Hello, teacher.
Yeah, hello.
Can you hear me? Yes.
Yes.
Uh-huh. So we start with this paragraph. Layla spent so much time preparing a grammar lesson on how to use simple past, regular and irregular forms. With her beginner level students, she used a variety of sentences that examples, I can't see the word, of sentences that, is it the word that, teacher? Can you hear me?
Yes,
Trina.
that's provided.
That's provided examples of different rules
rules.
and explained these to students. They then completed, I can't see the word,
Some gap.
some gap-filled sentences,
sentences.
which they all got correct. 4 days later, Layla collected in some written
Emails
recent
from
emails
her
from her
students.
students. This work contained many mistakes, especially mistakes in the way the students used simple past. Layla felt frustrated because she had prepared carefully for the lesson, but in vain. So,
Wonderful.
question.
This is a very good situation. Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks, teacher.
Thank you, Wahida. This is a very good situation. Now, your job, I would like to give you 2 minutes. Read the situation again and tell me, how could you help Layla? And what do you think was wrong with her lesson and with her teaching style? Okay, 2 minutes. Think about it, please. And then you can write in the chat box. All right, so what do you think? So let me read in the chat box what you have written. So Sarah said she liked the use of a variety of tasks to consolidate students' understanding. Nasira said the problem with this teacher is that the lesson does not suit the students' level. Wonderful, Linda. Again, you cannot hear me. Maybe you have got something wrong with your mic. All right, so what about those who are following us on YouTube? All right, so great. Musa said the students did not grasp the lesson in a full way, maybe because of the way the lesson was delivered. Wonderful. Bizri Muhammad, she mixed the two lessons in time. Okay. The other one, Kiki said, I think she did not give the students a chance to elicit the rules by themselves and use their critical thinking to understand the rules. Wardi Asma, there are a lot of structures. Wonderful. Great. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, so here, look here. Layla spends so much time preparing a grammar lesson on how to use simple past. And remember, your job as a teacher, put it here, please. Your job as a teacher is to facilitate the learning process of your learners and not to complicate things, because teaching the two forms, teaching regular and irregular forms for beginner students, you are complicating things and you are not facilitating things. Number two, learning is a process. You cannot teach in one lesson, one session, 1 hour, two forms, regular and irregular. Students get confused. So please remember, one task at a time. So don't add more challenges to your students. This is the problem. And here, another problem is that Layla did not create context, did not put the structure in context, did not provide them with much practice, a lot of exercises to do. So these are some problems. Okay. Now, how could you help Layla? How could you help Layla? Yassine Samran said she bombarded her students with a lot of sentences. Thank you. Firdaus, she did not use a variety of techniques and approaches to facilitate the course for her students because they may have different learning skills. Ismail, probably students will only need to know the grammar rules. Thank you for those who are following us on YouTube. Okay. Leila Ghaidor said, Leila has to teach first regular verbs to her students after she can move to irregular. Thank you. This is the best. So let's see the feedback. This is the feedback. Number one, for our novice teachers, learning is a process. If you are teaching passive voice, don't teach all the types, all the forms of the passive voice in one session. If you are teaching reported speech, don't teach all the types, affirmative, negative, suggestion, order, question, etc. No way. Learning is a process, step by step. Okay. Now, it is hard for beginners to teach them the two past forms in one session. It's very hard because the level of your learners are beginners. So step by step. Okay. Number two, she used sentence level examples when she taught the lesson. Students found it hard to use the forms in text. She did not put the structure in context, like a reading text, a conversation, a dialogue, using pictures, so students can guess from the context. Okay, great. Now, the key skills, or the key skill that Layla should learn about. Number one, there are different ways of teaching grammar. There's not only one way. Number two, no one individual method suits all grammar points and all students. Different learning styles, kinesthetic learners, auditory learners, verbal learners, visual learners, so different ways. Okay. Number three, you should vary your approach to teaching grammar to cater for different learning styles. It's the same again. Okay. So these are the skills that Layla should learn about. All right. This is clear so far. Any comment? Yes, Muad said he cannot hear me. Fatima, can you hear me? No? Okay, so let me see there is something wrong with the voice. Just 1 second. I'm gonna stop sharing. Okay, 1 second. Okay, do you hear me now? Do you hear me well? Thank you. Yeah, wonderful. Thanks. Okay, great. So, as I said, learning is a process, number one. So don't teach everything in one session, and you take into account the level of your learners, the type of the lesson, the size of the classroom. Is this a big classroom or a small class? Do you have a lot of students or just few? Okay. And it's very important to put the structure into context. This is the most important thing. Okay, great. So let's move on to the next one. Now, what does communicative language teaching? Can someone remind me what are the major principles of communicative language teaching? Because the title of today's workshop or lesson is about teaching grammar communicatively, which means that we should adopt the communicative language teaching. Someone to remind me, what are its principles? Yes, please. Yes, anyone? So Sam said we use language to communicate. Perfect, wonderful, I like it. So for communication purposes, Bizri Muhammad, the student is active. Thank you. Shaima, mean is emphasized. Wonderful, great. Sarah, teaching through a communicative context. Interesting, great. Yes. Musa, creation context. I agree. Sukaina, using dialogues and communication and creating a healthy environment. Perfect. Wonderful. I liked what you said, all of you. Muhammad, interaction with students is very important. Great. Thank you. All right. Yeah, you covered everything about the communicative language teaching. Thank you. Great. And Saeed Yusfi on YouTube said to foster speaking as far teacher helps. Ismail, language is seen as a means that serves for communication purposes. Wonderful. Abdul Ali, learner-centered, learning in context. Great. Thank you. So let's see here. Now, communicative language teaching. Number one, we teach the lessons that are student-centered. The student is in the learner, is in the center of the learning process. The heart of the classroom is the student. The heart of the learning process is the student. Everything I'm going to design, I should first take into account my students' needs and wants. Okay, great. Now, we create opportunities for students to use English actively. And this is what Leila didn't do. Leila did not provide her students with enough practice, with a lot of opportunities to use the language. And number three, we create contacts for language use because students should be active. So students should discover themselves the structure. How? We put the structure, the form in context, a text, a conversation, a dialogue, etc. And number 4, we help students reach beyond their comfort zone. Communicative language teaching is about real life communication. We want to help our learners to use the language in their everyday life. Okay, great. Now, here, when you want to teach grammar, basically there are 2 major approaches. Okay, and now I'm going to present 2 mini lessons, and your job is to ask question number 1. Which lesson did you prefer and why? Please, I want you to take notes when I'm teaching, when I'm presenting the 2 mini presentations or mini lessons. And number 2, you name the approaches that sum or sums up each lesson. Is it clear so far? Which one did you like? Why? And number 2, the mini lesson number 1, which approach? The mini lesson number 2, which approach? Is it clear so far, please? Okay, thank you. So let's get started. Okay, great. So Ismail Akdim, thank you. Yeah, me too. I'm happy to meet you. Thanks. Great. So let's see here. The first presentation. Are you ready? Ready? Great. So let's see here. Now, you are my students. I'm going to play the role of the teacher and you take the role of the student. Now, I'm going to teach you about simple past. Hello, my learners. How are you? I hope you are doing well. Yeah, I see that you are great. Yeah. Some of you are very happy. Oh, it was your birthday yesterday. So happy birthday. Thank you. Great. And you, Safa, you are very happy. Why? Oh, you received a nice gift. Wonderful. The gift is about what? Oh, a nice ring. Wonderful. And Saeed, what about you? You seem somehow tired, angry. Yes, teacher, I played yesterday soccer. I felt tired or I'm tired. Great. Now, today, I'm going to teach you a lesson, and the lesson is about the simple past. Simple past. The teacher will write the simple past. So the simple past is very easy. It's a verb plus ed. Verb plus ed, regular verb. Like play, played. Study, studied. Cook, cooked. Watch, watched. Wash, washed. Brush, brushed. Great. Can you repeat? Played, played. You played, played. Studied, studied. Good. Now look here. I'm going to give you some example. Yesterday, I played tennis. But I did not watch TV last night. Now did you study English last weekend? So this is the presentation, number 1. Now I'm going to move to presentation number 2. Yes, remember the question? Which one do you prefer and what are the approaches? Great. Now here the teacher shares with students the activities he did last Sunday. Then he asks some questions. Okay. Such as, what did I do in the forest? What did I watch? What did I listen to? So the teacher will start with this one. Hello, my students. How are you? Great? Wonderful. Yeah, me too. I'm great. Thank you. I'm very happy. Why? Yes, I'm very happy because yesterday I met my best friend. Great. So let me tell you about my last weekend. Last weekend. So last weekend, number 1, look at the picture. Last weekend with my family, I watched a very nice film. It was an American film. Activity number 2, last weekend. I played with my family soccer. I played soccer with my family in the forest. Picture number 3, I was very happy. I listened to music and I danced. I listened and I danced. It's picture number 4. I dance with my family. So look here. Number 1, I watch TV. I underline watched. Number 2, we played soccer in the forest. Number 3, I listened to music. Number 4, I dance with my family. Great. Now, I want you to look at the board. Look at sentence number 1, sentence number 2, sentence number 3, and sentence number 4. Can you tell me, what do they have in common? Yes, Saeed, they are verbs. Very good. So we have verbs. What else? There is something special about all these verbs. Can someone please? Yes. Oh, Laura. Yes, please. Yeah, teacher, there is ed, ed, ed. Come here, Laura. Perfect. Can you give a clap to Laura, all of you? You are excellent. Go to the board. Circle the ed. Okay, ed, thank you. Now, Laura, can you tell your students, oh, sorry, your colleagues, why we put ed after the verb? Why? Thank you, because it's the simple past. Wow, Laura is an excellent student. I'm gonna give you +2. Okay, +2, thank you. Another clap for Laura. Great, so now I want someone to tell me about the rule. Can someone go to the board? All right, go, Sad. So I play tennis. What is I? Nisreen, subject, good, subject. So plus play, what is play? Verb, just verb? Verb in the past, thank you. Tennis, object, great job. So subject plus verb plus object. Great, now I'm going to give you 5 minutes to practice, do this exercise. Great. This is presentation number 2. Now, let me go back to the question. Which lesson did you prefer and why? Can you tell me now, which lesson? Is it lesson number 1 or lesson number 2? So Bubakar said, I prefer presentation 2 because students are in the center of the learning process. And here we have some people, they want to talk. So Shayma, please use the mic.
Hello.
Hello.
So I preferred presentation number 2. Should I answer the questions? Why
Yes.
and which approaches used?
Of course.
Because first of all, he used pictures in order to catch students' attention, and he put students into context, as well as highlighting the word or the verb. And the approach that he used called implicit or inductive learning. He let students generate the rule by themselves. And at the end, he used reinforcement as a way to encourage his students.
Interesting. Great, thank you. So let's see, there are some other ones they want to interact. Yes, please. So let's see. So Wardi Asma, please use the mic. Activate your mic. Can you activate your mic? Or let's, Far, yes, please, Far, activate your mic. Any one of you. Yes. Activate your mic if you want to participate. Okay. So you cannot know how to activate the mic. Anyway, good. So Shaima, thank you for this illustration. So let's see here, Siham. Yeah, use the mic, Siham. Activate your mic. Yes, please.
Hello.
Or yeah.
Do you hear me?
Hello. Yes, yes.
So I prefer the lesson number 2 or presentation number 2 since it is a more effective way in which the teacher shows or presents the students pictures and which means real materials to make them understand more. Also the teacher here use motivation, some kind of motivation, especially when he says through, I can't remember the name of the students, but the teacher says, good, I can add you 2 points. And also the teacher gives the students a chance to discover the rules by themselves. And that's all.
Wonderful. Thank you. That's interesting. So as you see, that's presentation number 1, as Shaima and I guess Siham or the other one, I can't remember the name. The first one, that the role of the teacher has got the authority. He was the spoon feeder. From the very beginning, he started with the rule. Then he moved to examples. And the students were passive like this. They were just listening to the structure. They know about the structure, okay. For presentation number 2, there was an interaction between the teacher and students. And we observed that the students participated more than the teacher. And we call it the TTI, teacher talking time is low, but the STTI, student talking time, was high. And the teacher used context, pictures, a story talking about what he did last time. So creating context. And students observed what they saw on the board, okay? And then they highlighted the structure. So the second conversation is more engaging. I mean, the presentation is more engaging than the first one. Now, my question, what's the name of the approaches? So let me see here on YouTube. So Ismail Aqdim said the second one is better because it focuses on the students. The student is the center and they are creating the rule. So it becomes easy for them to remember. Wonderful. Rabia Umulid, presentation 2, because here students are motivated to build the lesson by themselves. Hafida, I prefer the second presentation because you put the items in context and also it is communicative. Great. Firdaus, the second one is engaging students within the course by letting them participate. Thank you. Great. So let's move on to the next slide. Now, what do we call the 2 approaches? Yes. The 2 approaches. So, yes, Wahida said deductive and inductive. Thank you. Deductive and inductive. Ilham, I prefer the second presentation since students were able to work out the rule by themselves. Okay, thank you. So let's move on to the next one. Great. So these are the 2 approaches, the 2 main approaches to teaching grammar. Okay, to teaching grammar. So the first presentation was deductive, presenting grammar deductively. So the teacher started with the rule. The simple past of regular verbs is verb plus ed, so the rule. Then he provided them with examples. So we are moving from the rule to examples. Students are very passive. Students or the teacher is the spoon feeder. The teacher is the source of knowledge. The students are just listeners or passive listeners. The second presentation is inductive. The teacher started with context, examples, pictures, stories, conversations, and then the ruler. the first presentation, the teacher who was in charge of giving the rule. The second presentation, the students who were in charge of discovering the rule by themselves and giving the rule. So here, moving into the rule. Okay, is this clear so far? Great. Now, here, what is, and as we say here, what is the best? Leila Ghaidour said inductive and deductive approach. Ismail Akhrim said it's the inductive approach. Now, my question, what is the best approach? Is it deductive or inductive? What do you think? Can you please write in the chat box? What is the best? So Muhammad said, I think inductive, Sukaina inductive, Shayma inductive. Okay. Inductive. Rahim inductive, Fatima inductive one for sure. Bubakar, so the teacher is the decider. Sana deductive, Bubakar both. Of course, the best one is the inductive approach, Ikram said. All right, Shayma, by doing this, you encourage students to use their critical thinking. All right, so Anas on YouTube, Zmuri, inductive is the best of the best. Okay. Abdulrazak Sahrawi, it depends on the lesson. Firdaus, the inductive approach is the best. Saeed Yusfi, the inductive approach. I'm very sorry to tell you there is no the best. There is no the best way. There is no the right way, but it depends. It depends on the type of the lesson. It depends on the size of the classroom. It depends on the number of the students. It depends on the teacher himself, herself. It depends if it is the morning class or the afternoon class. It depends on the complexity of the lesson. So please, there is no the best. Now, and it depends on your purpose. If your purpose is to teach grammar communicatively, yes, I agree. Inductive might be the best. If your purpose is to finish early and to provide only the structure for your learners, so deductive is the best. So please, when we are teaching, we don't say this is the best of the best, but it depends. So please, it depends. Do you agree or disagree now? All right. Thank you. Yes. So basically, there is no best way. Okay. So all the time, it depends on many conditions we have to take into account. Great. So let's move on to the next slide. Great. Now let's practice exercise. Here, filling the gaps with the right words in the list. There are two main approaches to teaching grammar. These are the deductive and the inductive. Deductive, the rule, then examples. Inductive, examples, then rules. Now, I'm going to give you 2 or 3 minutes. Please fill in the gaps with learner-centered, time-saving, inductive approach, teacher-centered, deductive approach, or takes time. 2 minutes and we correct. Please take notes and write. So anyone to answer? So Bizri Muhammad, yes, please use the mic. Activate your mic. Bizri or Sfar, yes, please. I guess you should know how to activate your mic, then you can talk. Yes, Sfar. Yes, you are allowed to speak, but you have to activate your mic. Others who want to talk, can someone answer and read everything? Okay, so Siham, yes, activate your mic. Okay, Siham, yes.
So first, a deductive approach is when the rule is presented and the language is produced based on the rule, which means the teacher gives the rules. And for an inductive approach
The
is
first one is
deductive.
deductive.
Yes.
So, good, continue.
No?
Yes, please, continue, yeah.
An inductive approach is when the rule is inferred through some form of guided discovery.
So inductive approach.
Yes, the teacher gives the students a means to discover the rule for themselves. In other words, the former is more teacher-centered.
Is more
Centered.
Great.
And the latter more learner-centered. Centered.
All right.
So both approaches have their advantages and disadvantages. In my own experience, the deductive approach is undoubtedly time-saving.
Great. So time-saving.
Yes.
Continue, please.
Allows more time for practicing the language and allows more time for practicing the language items, thus making it an effective approach with lower level students. The inductive approach, on the other hand, takes time and more beneficial to students who already have a base.
Wonderful. Thank you, Siham. Great.
Yeah,
So
already have.
Yeah.
Okay, you're welcome.
Continue, yeah. If you.
Shall I continue?
Yeah.
Okay. On the other hand, takes time and more beneficial to students who already have a base in the language, as it encourages them to work things out for themselves based on their existing knowledge.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're most welcome. So as you see that the both approaches have got advantages and disadvantages. Okay. Thank you. Wonderful. Okay. So let's see the correction now. Okay, great job, Siham. Deductive, why? We have the ruler. Inductive, we start with examples. Teacher-centered, authority, spoon feeder, the man of knowledge, okay. The center of the learning process, okay. Now, and the latter, more learner-centered. The student is active. The student is the heart of the learning process. The student is motivated to learn more. The student gets more opportunities. The student discovers and observes by him or herself. Okay, but number one, deductive, time saving, to the point. Simple past is blah, blah, blah. Present continuous is this and this, okay, quickly. But for inductive is a process. You push, you guide, you help learners, you highlight, etc. Okay, great. Yes, please. I guess someone want to talk? Yes, Far? Yeah, you raise your hand. All right. Yeah, anyway, there is a problem with the mic. Good, thank you. Now let's go on to the next one. Now here, look at the grammar lesson and reflect on. This is a grammar lesson. And this grammar lesson is taken from a Moroccan textbook, Common Core. Common Core is the 10th grade, beginner students. Now, is the new language contextualized? Do you think that the language, the structure is put into context, conversation structure, text, dialogue, etc.? Number two, is the grammar lesson based on inductive or deductive approach? And number three, are there any practice activities based on communication? activities? Are they communication activities or just gut feeling activities? So let me give you 4 minutes. I want you here, please, to read activity number 1, activity number 2, activity number 3, and activity number 4. Based on these activities, you can answer question 1, 2, and 3. Okay, is this clear? So let me give you some time. All right, 3 minutes. All right, so let's discuss here. Any volunteer again? I have got some. You want to talk again? Yes, Muhammad. Can you use the mic?
This is not Muhammad.
Who? Yes, please.
Shayma.
Shema, yes, please. Yeah.
Okay, so to answer the first question, the language is indeed contextualized because the teacher uses pictures, pictures and dialogues.
Good.
So it is indeed contextualized.
Good. So Shema, for the first one, it is contextualized. There is context, which is number 1. Laura, Jerry, Mehdi. Good. Now, Shema, my question, the first activity, read the dialogue and answer these questions. What do we call this technique? Who is Levi?
To catch their attention.
Good. Yes, to catch the attention. And what type of questions these? These are, what do we call them? You have any idea?
Open-ended questions.
But in teaching English, there is a certain name.
I have no idea.
So we call them either focus question or lead in questions. Okay, lead in questions. So these are called lead in questions, elicit information from your learners. Great. So for number 1, there is context. Thank you. Next, Shema, is the grammar lesson based on inductive or deductive?
Inductive learning.
How?
Because the rule is not elicited, but rather generated by the students.
Thank you. And from context, from the chat, from the conversation. Very interesting. Yes. So look here, task number 1, there is examples, there is context. So it is inductive. If we start with number 1 with the rule, then we can say it is deductive. Okay, great. Now number 3, Wahida, can you answer number 3? Are there any practice activities based on communication? Can you activate your mic?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Sorry, if you please, could you please repeat the question?
It's question number 3.
Yes.
The activities, are they based on communication or not?
Activity number 3, I think it's inductive. Inductive method, because it's based on complete the dialogue. I think it's deductive. It's not inductive. I think number 4 is inductive.
No, my question, is there communication? Students are going to communicate or not?
I don't think they are going to communicate. They are just going to put the form, the correct form of the verb in the gaps.
Okay, yeah. And number 4?
Concerning number 4, I think it's inductive method, because you have student A and student B. There is a role play.
Yes, Wahida, we are not talking here about deductive or inductive. We are talking if the activities are based on communication.
I think for activity number 2, yes, it's based on communication.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
No, that's all.
Great. So look here, we can say that activity number 3 and activity number 4, yeah, students are going to communicate. Here they are going to fill in the gaps, and they can practice, ask and answer. And for activity number 4, yeah, there is also role play, conversation, dialogue. So there is communication. Thank you. That's interesting. Great. Let me move on to the next one. Now, I want you to compare another lesson. Okay, another lesson. I want you to compare and contrast this grammar lesson with the previous one. You compare about the approaches, about the activities, and the techniques used. So here, this is the grammar lesson. Look here, number 1. Number 1 is read the following dialogue. Okay. Number 2, study the sentences. Number 3, complete the sentences. Number 4, write 3 sentences. Now, try to see the approaches used and the activities and the techniques. I give you again 3 minutes. Try to compare and contrast between number 1 and number 2. All right, so what do you think? So let me see in the chat box. So, Mr. Mohammed, please, Mr. Hussein, I don't hear active the sound, please. Do you hear me? Yeah, Ruwardi Asma said, of course, there are dialogues. Ilham, number 1 is based on inductive. Okay, great. Thank you. So here, if we compare lesson number 1 with lesson number 2, we will see there are some similarities. Yeah, anyone here? Again? Yes, please, use the mic.
Hi again.
Yes.
So the first activity use the inductive learning, and the activity used here is a reading activity, and the techniques used are dialogues and pictures.
Wonderful. So there is something in common between the first and the second, which is there is context.
Yes.
The structure is contextualized. Yeah. Now, what are the differences about the activities about the two?
I think in the first activity, it is more communicative. The students are going to communicate actively and effectively, while in the second activity or exercise, there is no room for communication.
Wonderful. So we can say here that activity number 3, complete the sentence about yourself. There's no communication. They are just going to complete.
Yes.
Number 4, write 3 more similar sentences about your life as a child and share them with your partner. Maybe there is communication.
Activities, not reading activities or communicating with each other.
Okay. Now, if we go back here, we will say now number 3, there is communication. Number 4, there is communication. Okay. But here, sorry. Number 3, there is no communication. There is just gap filling. You just fill in the gap. Now, what about the techniques used? Yes, please, others. Yes, Far, I activated your mic, but you have to do so. Okay. Just check with your mic if it's working or not. So for the techniques used, we can say here, look here. What do we call this one? I'm going to help. What is this? So used to, and then we have this one. What is this? Did and used to. What technique here? The technique used here. It is anyone to answer? Thank you, Shayma. It's highlighting or color coding. Wonderful. Highlighting or color coding. It's the technique. Very good. Now let's go back to the first one. The first lesson. It's the same. Look here, colors in blue, color coding. And there's another technique, which is the chart. Using the chart is a technique. For who? For, I mean, the learning style. Which learning style? For visual learners. Thank you. For visual learners. Okay. Yes, sir. For visual learners. Great. So it's a lesson about grammar. Now, here, if you want to teach grammar, you can adopt the PPP model. P, presentation. P, practice. P, production. Okay. Yeah. Now, for the presentation, there are different ways. You can demonstrate, you can personalize, you can create a situation, you can give examples, you can give explanations, or you can provide them with text. All right. Remember, when I was teaching the simple past, I started with a story. Okay, it's a kind of or a situation or personalization. And at the same time, demonstration. I said yesterday, last weekend, and I gave examples. So I mixed some different techniques here. Number 2, practice. Once you present the form, the structure, now the second stage is practice. For practice, we can call it practice or restricted practice. Students, they are restricted. They have just to fill in the gaps, to match, to underline, etc. Or multiple choice answers. So here we have multiple choice tasks, gap filling tasks, matching tasks, etc. They are restricted. They have just to match or to fill in the gap or to choose the right answer, etc. Then it's time for learners to use their own language. We call it production. Students will produce their own language, is the third stage. And here students can practice speaking or presentations or activities or writing, etc. So role plays, discussions, debates, describing things, etc. Okay, good. Now let's move on to the next slide. Now, for grammar stages, in general, we have 3 major stages. we have got the presentation, the practice, and the production. Now, if you want to go deeper about this, the grammar stages, now here we have to highlight the form. There is the restricted practice, highlight the written form, build interest, free practice, concept checking, model sentence. These are all stages, okay? And then you can put them into order, okay? In the presentation stage, what do we have? You can have the model sentence, highlight the form, highlight the written form. For the practice, you can have restrict practice, etc. Great, so these are the stages in details. Now let's see here. There is a lesson, and now I want you to, these are some other major stages: presentation, observation, concept checking, practice, and production. Number one, as a teacher, you should present the simple past. Number two, you should help students observe themselves the simple past. Number three, you should know that your students understand the simple past is concept checking. And after that, you move to practice, give them exercises. And after they practice, now they should produce the language. They should use their own language. Now, your job, I want you again to have a look at this lesson, okay? And to read activity 1, 2, 3, and 4. Good. And then you match them and you justify why is this and why. Can we do number all together? So number 1, read the dialogue and answer these questions. Read the dialogue and answer these questions. Who is Lebi? Where is Mehdi? Where is the club? Okay. So remember, these are, we call them lead-in questions. So with the first activity, what's the purpose? Is to, anyone to answer? What's the purpose? Ilham said highlighting. Kiki, presentation. Yeah, presentation. Great, presentation. All right. Yes, Asma, can you use the mic? You want to talk? Asma and Sfar, I all the time give you the floor, but I guess you have a problem with the mic. All right. Great. Yeah, so presenting the lesson. Thank you. So the first one is presentation. Now, let me give you 3 minutes. You complete 2, 3, and 4, and you match them with the right stages. Okay. Nisreen, production. Okay, great. Yes, sir. Sukenia said activity 2, observation. Number 3, practice. Number 4, production. Good. Yes, sir. All right. Sfar, can you please use the mic? I activated it. Yes, can you make sure how to activate your mic? Yes. Anyone to talk here? Okay. Observation, number 1, Sirin said. 2, presentation. 3, practice. Number 4, production. Sana, restricted practice, etc. So let's see those who are on YouTube. Okay, great. Yes, Wahida, can you talk?
Yes, sir.
Yes, please.
So I think concerning number 2 and number 3, they are restricted practice activities, and number 4, it's production activity, because we have a dialogue. They are going to role play, asking and answering questions about themselves.
All right. Yeah, that's interesting. Thank you. And here on YouTube, Yusra Busarh said elicit answers from students and put them in context. Abdul bin Dawood said number 2, observation. Number 3, practice. Number 4, production. Firdaus, number 2, observation, practice, production. Wonderful. Okay, great. Thank you. Yes, so number 1 is presentation. Number 2 is underline all the forms of the verb be. They are going to observe, and then the underline highlight is observation. Number 3 is restricted practice or practice. And number 4, here they are going to look here, work in pairs, work with your friend. So students are going to use their own language. They are going to produce the language. Okay, it's production. So please practice, or we can call it restricted practice. Production, or we can call it free practice. So there are 2 names, free practice or production. Okay, thank you. Great. Now, this lesson, as you may see, is based on deductive or inductive. Do you remember? Deductive or inductive? Deductive or inductive? وحيد said both. Sihan, inductive. Thank you, it's inductive. So the textbook is based on inductive approach to teaching grammar. But you as a teacher, you have the choice. You can use deductive or inductive. Okay, you have the choice. Thank you, Najia, inductive, Ilham, inductive, Ikram, inductive, Sukaina, inductive, wonderful, okay. Yeah, female teachers here are very active. Sukaina, Ikram, Fatima, Najia, Ilham, okay. Thank you. Asma al-Wardi, okay, great. Then we have Muhammad. Yeah, hopefully there is Muhammad. Thank you. Ayub, great. Yes, that's interesting. Great. Any question, any comments so far? All right, great. So let me move on to the next one. Now, the tips, when you are teaching grammar, it's very important to use some techniques that will help you to meet the needs of your learners, that will help you to motivate your learners, that will help you to show how your learners discover the structure and the form themselves. Yes, Bizri Muhammad, yeah. Basically, I activate your mic. It's your problem. You have to activate. I accept, I allow you to activate the mic, but you don't accept. So basically, I allow you to use the mic, and your job is to accept. Okay. Great. So here we have number 1, color coding. You color, you highlight, or you underline, or you circle the structure. I played, you underline played, or you circle ed, or you color ed. So I played tennis yesterday. She watched a movie last night. Number two, the best of the best. The best technique is the timeline when you are teaching tenses. Remember, when you are teaching tenses, simple present, simple past, future, present continuous, past perfect, tenses in general, the best technique is to contrast, compare and contrast, using the timelines. Yesterday, I played. Now I am playing. Every day I play. Tomorrow I will play. Okay, so the timeline helps learner to observe and to compare and contrast the tenses, the forms, the structures. And number three is the KISS. Keep it short and simple. Blah, blah, blah. Confuse your learners. Don't explain a lot. Don't talk a lot. Students feel confused. Your job is to demonstrate. Use pictures. Give only keywords. Use your body language. Give short instructions. This is the KISS. Keep it short and simple. Okay. Don't talk a lot. And now, of course, when you teach grammar, students make mistakes. Please don't jump. Don't give the immediate correction. No. The best or the most effective way is self-correction. I played tennis every day. Huh? What do you think? Every day, every day, every day? Yeah, teacher, I play. We have every day. Teacher, he play tennis every day. Yes. What do you think? He play, what do you think? Yeah, so self-correction. If he cannot correct himself or herself, yes, Muad, yes, Laura, what do you think? He play, remember he, she, it, plays, peer correction. Okay, if the students cannot correct themselves, it's you, the teacher should correct. So when you are correcting your learners, please take notes. You have to involve the learner in the correction process. You have to involve the learner in the correction process. Please never ever jump correcting your learners. It's okay. They will make mistakes. And your job is to help them to correct by themselves. Now, if you correct them, they may forget. But if they correct themselves, it's here. They will not forget because it comes from themselves. And number five, another technique is using fun activities. You have to create fun, enjoyable, positive, learning environment. Students should feel motivated. Students should feel engaged. Students should feel at ease. Students should feel comfortable. Students should use the language and they are happy, they are motivated. How? Using fun games. You can use online games, offline games, board games. Yeah, is it clear so far, please? Okay. Thank you. So Wahida Asma said, these tips are so working. I used to apply them in my class. Great. Thank you, Rahim. Fatima, yes, thank you. Okay, good. So let's move on here to the next slide. Now, how to create fun learning environment? You can use classroom games like online and offline. And here there's a sample, an example, chain story game, chain story. The objective is revising or practicing grammar points. If you are teaching simple past, you can revise or you can practice. And another objective is spelling and pronunciation. Okay, speaking, pronunciation. Procedures, how can you use the chain story game? Number one, students are set in a circle and the teacher starts with a sentence. Example, I got up early yesterday. Muhammad, Layla, Saad, Karima, Khadouj, Ilham, etc. One by one. I got up early yesterday. Yes, I went to the school. I had English classes. I answered the questions. I went back home. I had my lunch. So using the same tense. Second, students should continue using another sense in the past form. If the next student didn't answer the right, use the structure wrongly, eliminate it. For example, I got up early yesterday, Layla. Then I went to school. Good. Muhammad, I take a taxi. It's a simple past. Eliminated. We don't say I take. What do we say? Ilham, I took. Thank you, Ilham. Then you eliminate, and at the end you have only one winner. And you will see very positive learning environment, competition, fun, okay, etc. Example here, I washed my face, I had my breakfast. The spelling pronunciation must be correct, or they can go to the board and write. So when a student makes a mistake, he leaves the game. A variation of the game can be carried out orally, but more speed is required in this case. So this is an example that you can use to create fun learn environment when you are teaching grammar. Okay, great. Now, review. We are going to review what we have covered. Number one, for all of you, sorry. Number one, what do we mean by color coding? Can you write what is color coding and when do we use it? Color coding. Can you write the chat box? It's highlighting, Shayma. Thank you. Color coding means highlighting. Sarah, to highlight the keywords. Great. See, I'm highlighting. The grammar stage. When do we use it? The grammar stage. To highlight the rules, yeah. So we have presentation, observation, practice, production. When? Presentation, yes. But basically, the observation. Thank you, observation. Great. Now, the next one. What do we mean by inductive approach to teaching grammar? Inductive approach to teaching grammar. So let me see those following us on YouTube, okay? Yes, Rabia said highlight, Adil bin Dawood highlight, Firdaus Summit highlight. Okay, good. Yes, now Musa for inductive, sorry, Sana said we give examples, then we deduce the rule. Good, Muhammad, we start by examples, then rules. Fatima, inductive. Sarah, grammar in context. Great. Al-Wardi Asma provides specific examples first, then ask students to reduce or to deduce the rule. Wonderful. Great. Firdaus, the students take place in the inductive approach. Abdulrazak Harawi, indirect way of teaching grammar. Great. Now, what about PPP? What does PPP stand for? PPP stands for, it's a model approach itself. Yes. So Sana said presentation, practice, production. Wahida, presentation, yes, good. Ilham, presentation, practice, production. Sarah, presentation. Najia, presentation. Wahida, great. Okay. Yes, wonderful. Thank you. Now, another thing that we have studied here, and let me see on YouTube, Abdul bin Dawood said the rule is discovered, not mentioned. Thank you. Abdulrazak, presentation, practice, production. Leila, moving from examples to rules. Great. Now, what about visual aids? Visual, what do we mean by visual aids? So Sana said videos, pictures, Fatima, the pictures and all what is observed. Thank you. Nisreen. Nisreen, pictures and videos, great. Najwa, pictures or video to help students. Fatima, from videos, okay. Flashcards, pictures, Najia, thank you. Charts, Al-Wardiya, the chart, the table, okay. Sukaina, any related to visual learning, great. And on YouTube, Yasin Samran said adding pictures, Sarah photos, Bizri laptop, Sarah Munaji using pictures, great. Firdaus, visual aids, images, illustrations, charts, highlighting, circling, great. Ben Dawood, postcards, maybe, okay. Leila, Ghaidur, presentation, yes. Bizri Muhammad, blackboard, great. Now, what about learner-centered? What do we mean by learner-centered versus teacher-centered approach? Musa said the learner is the king of the class. I like this expression, is the king of the class. The teacher is just a facilitator. Thank you, Musa. Great. Siham, STT, great. Student talking time, Shayma. Student to teacher, not teacher to student. Ruwardi, the learner is the core of the process. Fatima, a lesson is built by the students and the teacher as a facilitator. Wonderful. Ayub, learners are in the center of the learning process. Great. And Abdulrazak Harawi, everything that students can see helps transmitting the meaning, pictures, videos. Layla, using pictures. Firdaus, inductive approach, learner-centered. Sarah, the focus is on the students. Abdurrahim, we give more importance to the learner. Thank you. Now, what about this one? KISS. Please don't get confused. This is another kiss in teaching. It's not the human kiss. It's the teaching kiss. I'm just kidding here. Yes, please. Keep it short and simple. Thank you, Nasima. Yeah, Sarah, Azwina Jia, great. So keep it short and simple. Great. Keep it short and simple. Thank you, Fatima. Keep it short and simple. All of you got it. Yes. Thank you. Wonderful. All right. Now, what about this one? What are, or before that, yeah. The grammar stages. Yeah, here on YouTube for KISS, Sarah said keep it simple and short. Abdulrazak Sahrawi, keep it simple and short. Ben Dawood, keep it short and simple. Rabia, keep it short and simple. Firdaus, the same. Layla, this great. Now, what about grammar stages? What are the grammar? We talked about 5 major stages. 5 major stages. What are they? 5. Sarah said presentation, observation, concept checking, practice, and production. Thank you. To the point. Wonderful. Great job. Yes. So these are the major stages. Good. What about communicative activities? What are the communicative activities? What do we mean by communicative activities? So what do we mean by communicative activities? So dialogues, role plays, good. Wahida, role plays, discussion. Thank you. Siham, working in pairs or in groups. Najwa, or, sorry, Najia, role play. Sarah, that gets students to interact. Yeah, there is interaction. Wonderful. Yes. Asma are collection of dialogues and debates. Great. Ilham, role plays. Wonderful. Shaima, any activity that involves students to interact. Thank you. Fatima, yes, there are interactions between the students communicatively. Great. Yes, communicative activities are activities that help students to interact, to communicate, to ask and answer. What are the types? Role plays, conversations, dialogues, debates, etc. Great. Yeah, thank you. Now, what do we mean by restricted practice? Restricted practice. Restricted practice. So, yeah, guided practice, wonderful. Yeah, we can give it the name of guided practice. Like gut feeling, Wahida, thank you. It's like gut feeling. Yes, great. Yes, so restricted practice from its name, students are restricted. They don't have freedom to use the language. They have just to fill in the gap or to match or to choose the right answer, etc. This is the first practice. Now, the second practice is the free practice. And we can call it, what's the second name? The free practice. Great, we can call it production. And from its name, to produce or to produce the language. The student's time is the stage that students should produce their own language. How? Write a short story, write a conversation, speak with your partner, describe this picture, give a summary. So they are using their own words, their own sentences, their own language. Okay. Great. Now, concept checking. What do we mean by concept checking? Concept checking. All right. So Najia said to check student understanding before practice. Perfect, I like it. Number one, presentation. Number two, observation. Once they observe, now is concept checking. You have to ask questions to make sure that students understand the form. Then you move to practice. You see, so concept checking. For example, yes, now you finish the observation and students observe the structure of the simple past. Now you ask them, did you play tennis? Is it the past or the present? It's a concept question. Please don't tell them, did you understand? It's a very stupid question because this question will not help the teacher. Students will say, yes, we understand, because they feel embarrassed, or because they are scared, or because they are confused, or because they are just bored and they say yes. So concept questions are questions that will show the teacher that students understand. Did you play tennis yesterday? Is it the past or the present? Oh, the past, because we have did. Now, can you write a sentence in the past using play? It's a concept question. Okay. Played, is it simple past or simple present? So this is, okay. Yeah, can you hear me? Because Fatima Uaddi said no, she cannot hear me. Can you hear me, please? Can you write in the chat box? Yeah, all right. So yeah, Uaddi, the problem is there. Good. Now, deductive. What do we mean by, remember, inductive and deductive? Moving from the rule. Wonderful. Moving from the rule. Ayub said the teacher is in charge of deducing the rule and presenting it to learners. Wahida said rules plus examples. Great. Rules plus examples. Thank you. Yes. Great. Now, remember communicative language teaching and grammar translation method. Which one is deductive and which one is inductive? Grammar translation method and communicative language. Let's start with communicative language teaching. Communicative language teaching, does it teach grammar inductively or deductively? So here Firdaus on YouTube said, deductive approach, the rule is given first, then finally the examples. The teacher is the man of knowledge and the students or the student is passive. There is no interaction between the teacher and his learners. Wonderful. Umayma, Mabruk. The teacher gives the rules before the examples. Rabi'a, moving from the rule, then examples. Bizri Muhammad, from general to particular. Abdrazak Sahrawi, do we mention the meaning and the use of the tense in the observation stage? Very interesting question. Yes. Yeah, the meaning, the form, and the use in the observation stage before moving to practice. Great. Sarah said communicative language is inductively. Rabi'a, grammar translation method, deductively. Rabi'a, communicative is inductive. Great. And here, Sukaina said GTM is deductive. Ikram, CLT is inductive. Sukaina, GTM is deductive. Fatima, moving to the rule. Wonderful. Great. Bravo. Yeah, I really liked your participation. Your answers, your feedback, your interaction were to the point. Proud of you. I really liked a lot of things about you, and I learned from you by raising very interesting questions. Thank you. Okay, so any question, please, or comments or feedback about today's session about how to teach grammar. So here we have Faris, please. Now I activated your mic. Please just make sure how to accept. I allowed you. Okay, Rahim, can you use the mic also? Yeah. Bubakar said it's very interesting. Thank you. Ikram, everything is clear. Thank you. Yeah, most welcome. Fatima, I like the session. It's my pleasure. Wahid, thank you. Yeah, very positive feedback. Yeah, I feel happy. Okay, good. So we as a human being, we really like positive feedback. So please don't all the time focus only on the negative side of your learners. Mistakes are okay. If they make mistakes, say, yeah, good, but. So please, yeah, it was good. This part of the sentence was good, but please next time try to focus on the ED form, okay? All the time, positive feedback encourages learners to learn. Yeah, me too as a trainer, when you provide me with positive feedback, I feel happy, okay? Thank you. Thanks. Any questions, please? You are most welcome. Any questions so far about this one? Okay. Great. So no questions so far. Now, as a summary, let me just move to the next slide. So as a summary, something I want you to remember. Yes, please. Okay, Rahim, I'm gonna give you the floor later. Yeah, let me just read this, the conclusion. So when teaching grammar, there are several questions we need as teachers to ask ourselves. Number one, how can I help my students know about the use? The use. Number two, how can I help my learners notice the form? The use is the past, actions happening in the past. The form is the ED. So you ask yourself these questions. What techniques? The timeline for the use, and highlighting, coloring for the form, for example. Now, number three, what problems might my students face when learning the new language? Of course, students may face some obstacles, problems, challenges. How can you overcome these? How? You facilitate the learning process. How? You use visual aids, use pictures. How? You give simple instructions. How? Variety of activities. How? Variety of techniques. How? Using ICT, using technology, using videos, okay. How? Mode of work, pair work, group work, go to the board, etc. How? Different worksheets, etc. Variety, flexibility, and authenticity are the best of the best. And number four, here we have 3 and 3, it's number 4. How can I make the lesson fun, meaningful, and memorable? How? Using games. How? Communicative activities. How? Inviting students to go to the board and to play roles. How? Giving positive feedback. How? Giving rewards, a chocolate, sweets, candies, +1, good job, like this. When you do like this to your students, they feel happy. When you address your students by their names, oh, my teacher knows my name, and they feel so happy. So there are different techniques, different ways to make the lesson very fun. Kareem, come here. You are my best friend today. And you hug him like this, and he feels happy. But if you are a male teacher, please don't hug a female student, okay? But with male, that you can, yeah, patting their back, back, etc. Okay, so there are many ways using online games, etc. Using offline games, using board games, and these things motivate and create a very positive learning environment. Great. So I guess Rahim or Safa or Safar. Yes, Rahim. Please use the mic.
Yes. So thank you for everything. My question is, as you said, there is no of best technique or way to teach grammar. Diversity and variety is needed. Do you hear me now?
Yes.
Hello? Okay. So as you said, there is no best way to teach grammar, and variety and diversity is needed. But there is something that has to do with the psychological aspect. And especially in active, they said that learners, when you give them examples, then the rules, they are actually learning without being aware of the mechanism taking place in their minds. So to what extent do you think this is true?
All right,
thank
thank
you.
you. Great. Yes.
You're welcome.
Now, my answer is a kind of asking a question. Now, you ask yourself a question, very important. It's what's the purpose of learning? What's the purpose? Now, I want to teach grammar. What's the purpose? Why do you want to teach grammar? And who are your learners? I'm going to give you an example. Now, I want to teach translators, students who want to be translators, just writing. Okay. Now, deductive approach would be the best. Deductive approach would be the best. Grammar translation method would be the best. Okay. Now, the coming class, I have other students and they want to go abroad. They like to travel and they want just to communicate. Okay. The best approach is communicative language teaching, using the language. The language is a means of communication. So please, I'm sure and I'm fully convinced that there is no best approach or no best method, but it completely depends on the purpose of your lesson, of your teaching, of the type of the lesson, the size of the classroom, the number of students, the complexity of the lesson, the size of the classroom. So there are many conditions that you have to take into account. Then you can, I give you another example. In the very beginning of the year, you still have time to teach. So basically, most teachers teach as a process, step by step. Sometimes maybe there are strikes, there are problems, okay, and then you are behind schedule. So what do? Deductive approach. You give them the rule from the very beginning because you don't have enough time. So even the time is important. So it depends. Okay. It depends on many things that you have to take into account. Based on that, you can choose the right approach. So please, when you are teaching English as a foreign or as a second language, the best approach depends on many requirements, many conditions. Okay, I hope that my answer is clear. All right. Thank you. So Bubakar said, when is the next Zoom meeting? Yes, tomorrow. Okay. Another question. So let me see those who are following us on YouTube. Okay. Great. Any other questions? Sukaina said, please, I have 3 brothers. They don't have a completed input. And when I teach them, I use the deductive method and GTM, repeating vocab, learning some expressions by heart. It's just to fill up the gap because they don't utter any word or say a sentence. Am I right? Yes, Sukaina. Number 1, you are teaching different learning styles, which means that you should have a variety of lessons, a variety of teaching techniques. Number 2, please, Sukaina, learning is a process. When you are teaching them this week or the second week, don't feel depressed that they don't learn, that they learn nothing. But learning is an ongoing process. Learning needs practice. Learning takes time. Learning is an ongoing process. So please don't feel depressed. It's step by step. Okay. Great. Another question? So let me see here. All right, so there is no question for those who are following us on YouTube. All right, thank you. Yes, so yeah, Shaima, you have a question. Please use the mic.
It's not a question. I just wanted to answer the girl's question.
Great.
That she mentioned that she's teaching them by using the deductive method. I think that she should teach them implicitly using the inductive method, providing them with comprehensible input, and do not pressure them to talk, because if she does, they won't talk. She needs to give them time in order to feel comfortable, and when they're ready, they will talk. That's all what I wanted to say.
Great. Yeah, thank you. Very interesting clarification. Great. Yes, another one. Okay. Yeah, Abdul bin Dawood said, could you please share the meeting ID? Yes, please. The session is recorded on YouTube, so you can go to my channel there and you will find it. All right. Thank you, everyone, and let's call it a day and see you tomorrow. Okay. Goodbye, everyone. Okay. Thank you. It's so kind of you. Rahim, you want to say something, please, from Algeria, our trainer?
Yeah. Yeah. Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello?
Yeah, I hear you. Yes.
Yeah, I would like to thank you very much indeed for the outstanding. Yeah, I would like to thank you so much, Mr. Lhoussine, for having conducted this outstanding workshop. I truly appreciate it. And hopefully everyone benefited from it fully, you know, and looking forward to the next one. You've done an excellent job. And, I hope, like I said, everyone is satisfied, of course. Okay. And once again, I thank you so much, and we'll see you tomorrow. Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Abdurrahim. And also, I would like to thank you for the great work you are doing in Algeria, promoting English. And the Yes Academy and ITTI Algeria, these are the best places where you can learn the basics of teaching English as a foreign language. Thank you, Abdurrahim, again.
We truly appreciate it. And we're looking forward to having you here in Algiers, okay? Once everything gets straightened up and everything will get to the normal again, we would like to invite you and to conduct workshops here in Algiers at Yes Academy, ITTI Algeria, at the school here. We're looking forward to doing so, okay?
Of course, it's my pleasure. Once the coronavirus is over, the first place I'm going to visit is, of course, Algeria, our neighbors. Thank you.
Take care of yourself. Have a good one.
Have a nice all of you. Goodbye,
All right,
everyone.
good night,
See you
everybody.
tomorrow at 7 p.m. Moroccan time. Thank you.
God willing. All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.